How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is currently running a massive sales, the PlayStation Indie Sale and the End of the Year Deal Sale. We already covered the End of the Year Deal Sale as far as under 10 and under 5 goes. Maybe we'll do a general best deals video without any price restrictions, but we wanted to do a video covering the indies because that doesn't get as much love, especially because a lot of the games on the indie section, I'm sorry, I just haven't played them. We can only do so much as far as playing every game on the market, especially with so many big games coming out, trying to stay up to date. So my apologies if some of the lower key titles that you wanted to see be mentioned on this list is not mentioned. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have any recommendations as far as games from this particular sale that you think I really should play as far as games not mentioned on here, and I'll check them out whenever I get the time. You know, holiday break coming up, so I'll have a little bit more additional time. But nonetheless, let's get right into it. Let's start things off with two games I think everybody should be very familiar with. One I think you are familiar with, and that is Playdead's Limbo. It's 75% off for $2.49. A very dark, atmospheric platformer here. Very methodical, very thematic to say the least. It's a very interesting game, and I feel like everybody at this point has at least played it on some platform. It's been released on just about everything, but it really made a name for itself. I want to say back on Xbox 360 with Xbox Arcade. I remember when it initially came out, like, everybody was talking about it, and it was one of those games that alongside titles like Bastion really showcased that downloadable titles could be something special. It's not like Limbo was this gargantuan open world title, but nonetheless, it was a game that engrossed a lot of people within it, and $2.49 I think is a really good buy. Obviously, with that being said, I gotta give Playdead's other title a shout, Inside, 75% off for $4.99. Now, Inside is a game that absolutely does not get as much love as Limbo did. Maybe that's just because the competition within the gaming market is just a lot steeper, but the people that have played Inside absolutely loved it. I mean, it's a game that was still received incredibly well. I believe it has in the high 80s on Metacritic, overwhelmingly positive reception on Steam. Very much has a similar vibe going on for it, being this atmospheric, dark platformer, you know, with some puzzle elements as well. $4.99 for this is great. I should also mention there is a Limbo and Inside bundle. If you haven't played either, $5.59 essentially. You're paying $5 for Inside, and then you'll get Limbo for 60 cents. That's a banger of a deal, so definitely go check that out if that does interest you. Next up, Talos Principle Deluxe Edition is $5.99 if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber. You can be an Essential subscriber, of course, or $9 without your Plus subscription. Talos Principle is a game that's super interesting. You know, if you put this game on paper, probably would not be a game that I would really enjoy. Being a puzzle-based title, puzzle games are not really my cup of tea, but there are a couple puzzle games that have really grabbed my attention. Portal being one of them, of course, who didn't love Portal. But Talos Principle being another one. It's a first-person puzzle game that has this sci-fi theme going on for it. Visually, it just looks fantastic. I can't say enough good things about this game's visual aesthetic, and it still holds up really strongly. The puzzles are well designed to the point where, you know, it didn't completely stump me for hours on end where I was just like, you know, absolutely dreading the game. That's my issue with puzzle games sometimes. I just feel like I am completely out of my wheelhouse. I don't know, maybe you guys are a lot more intelligent than me when it comes to solving puzzles. Now, I don't agree with things like God of War Ragnarok completely doing the puzzles essentially for you, but, you know, Talos Principle is a game that I feel like found a middle ground where it was accessible to me but didn't completely guide me through everything I needed to do, and still felt satisfying and rewarding. And I think that's how you do puzzles the best way, if it's accessible but at the same time rewarding, and it's finding that middle ground, and I feel like Talos Principle does a really good job with that. Not only that, again, I think aesthetically this game's awesome, so I think for under $10, $6 with a Plus subscription, $9 without a Plus subscription, great pickup here for sure. Next up, we have Frostpunk Console Edition, 75% off for $7.49. This is available on PlayStation Plus Extra, so bear that in mind. This is a game that I spent a ton of time with on PC, and that's probably the best way to play a game like this. Just keyboard and mouse controls are always going to be preferred with a game like this. Now, bear in mind, this game has a ton of additional content. The Frostpunk Complete Collection, unfortunately, is $45 right now. If you do want, you could wait for that to go on sale and then pick that up. Frostpunk is another game that is available through Plus Extra, so bear that in mind as well. This is a game done by 11-Bit Studios, and if you're familiar with this publisher, they also develop games. They've done This War of Mine, of course, Frostpunk, and they're working on Frostpunk 2. Very dark, very bleak, very grim games that emotionally absorb you into the game, into making some, you know, harsh decisions. You have to make sacrifices, and that's kind of the name of the game. You have to make decisions that are going to hinder some people, but at the same time, what is the best for the survivability, so to speak, of the community? Frostpunk's a very compelling game, and I found it very engaging. Yes, it's a little bit dark at times, but, you know, tonality, I think, is something that 11-bit Studios does a very interesting job with. I wouldn't necessarily say other games do a poor job, it's just that 11-bit Studios definitely has found an area where they excel at, and it creates a very absorbing game, if nothing else. Even if you're not a big fan of these styles of games, give this a shot. If you have an extra subscription, try it out and see if you like it, but I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised by it. Again, a lot of additional content to the game, so, you know, if you do want to extend the game a bit, you might want to have a gander at that. Even if, for whatever reason, you want to buy the complete collection right now, instead, you should just buy Frostpunk and buy the Season Pass separately, which is $25. So, yeah, just bear that in mind as well. Next up, Axiom Verge. $7.99, 60% off. This is a game that doesn't go much cheaper than this. I don't think I've ever seen it hit $5, and more often than not, I see it hit $9.99. Now, Axiom Verge, what's interesting about this game is it was literally done by one developer, and yes, you can look at the game and be like, okay, maybe you could do, one developer could do this game. It's got a throwback art style, yada, yada, yada. No, there's a good bit of depth to this game, and a Metroidvania with this aesthetic style obviously is going to click for a lot of people, but Axiom Verge has such a great look to it. It's obviously pretty challenging, and, you know, it's not got an absurd amount of content, but it's definitely, you know, for one developer, he did a fantastic job with this game, and this is a game I've been recommending for a long time. I picked it up the day it came out, I want to say back in 2014 or 2015, and it was a great time. You know, if you're a fan of Metroidvanias, you'll enjoy Axiom Verge quite a bit, so check that out at $7.99. I think that's a good buy. Want to give a shout to Outlast and Outlast 2. Outlast is $1.99, Outlast 2 is $2.99. Great deals on these games. Outlast Bundle of Terror, unfortunately, not on sale, but you can get Outlast Trinity. That's $5.89, 90% off, so that'll get you everything. Outlast 2, let's talk about Outlast first. I feel like Outlast was a very surprising horror game, I think, for a lot of people, just because, you know, it was kind of surprising to see how far the envelope was pushed by Red Barrel with Outlast, and it's a completely immersive game. I think Outlast 2 lost a little bit of the surprise factor, but it's still a pretty solid game, and I think everybody will still end up enjoying it. I mean, if you're into horror games. If you're not into horror games, like, don't even bother. But I know a lot of you guys specifically like to play horror games like this during, you know, October and whatnot. You know, maybe gather the family during the holidays and you guys can all play Outlast. I'm sure that's a good way to spend a family gathering. Nonetheless, both of those games that cheap. Really solid pickup, all things considered. Next up, want to give a shout to Wargroove. 60% off for $7.99. Now, the comparison you're obviously going to see with Wargroove, and everybody makes the comparison, Advance War. That is obviously the tactics game that this game is going to be compared to, and it's definitely got a very similar playstyle. I definitely wouldn't say it's as good as Advance War, but it's still a pretty solid, you know, comparison point, and it still offers solid tactics-based gameplay and quite a bit of replayability as well. So I wouldn't say it's worth the full $20, but at $8, it's a decent little pickup, and I would say check it out if this kind of game interests you. Next up, another Metroidvania, and one that I always go to bat for, Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition, 75% off for $3.74. Guacamelee 2 is on sale. I believe it's $4.99, don't quote me on that, but you can check out either. Guacamelee, I think the unfortunate fate of this game is the fact that the market is flooded with Metroidvania games, and a lot of them are really damn good, but only some of them are truly at that elite level. Only some of them truly get that buzz that makes them, you know, commercially do really well. I feel like Guacamelee didn't hit that point where it was a commercial slam dunk, but it's still a damn good Metroidvania, and it's comedic. You're doing suplexes, you're playing as this luchador. It's a fun time, and if you're exhausted a lot of the Metroidvania options, Guacamelee is one you should go back and check out, because for $3.74, I think this is a pretty solid pickup and some fun to be had with this one as well. Next up, Firewatch, 65% off for $6.99, done by Campo Santo. I remember vividly when this game came out back in 2016. It was the talk of the town in the gaming world for a little bit, and you guys might think that's pushing it a little bit. No. Back when this game came out, a lot of people were talking about it for that week. I mean, the gaming world moves fast, but people talking about a lower key budget release like this, that says quite a bit, and a lot of people were taken aback by Firewatch just because gorgeous game from a visual standpoint. When you look at this game from a visual standpoint, automatically you're thinking, oh, whoa, what is this? Firewatch is very much narrative driven. You're not getting into this game for action gameplay or anything like that. It's very light on the gameplay. It's a story-driven game with some decision-making, and it's incredibly short. Bear that in mind. This is a super, super short game, and I feel like that's one of the elements where people were like, hey, we paid 20 bucks for this game, and, you know, it doesn't have a lot of length. Ending to a lot of people wasn't that satisfying, but I think at $7, it's a game that you should absolutely play. Just from a visual standpoint, it's so unique, and I feel like I haven't talked about Firewatch enough on this channel. I mean, we've uploaded videos going back to 2016, so I'm sure around the time this game was coming out, I was talking about it, and it was just a pretty compelling game that sparked a lot of discussion back then, and some people absolutely did not like this game. I remember that it was a very divisive game, but I ended up really enjoying it. But I like games with very interesting visual styles, and this game, to me, is just gorgeous. So even though the length was something that people did give the game slight for, I think overall it's still a solid playthrough. And lastly, I do want to give a mention to Supergiant Games' Pyre. Now, Pyre is probably the Supergiant title that doesn't get as much buzz as the other ones, but it's still a pretty darn good game. I didn't like it as much as Bastion Transistor or Hades, but that's not really saying much since those games are absolutely tremendous. It's a party-based RPG that, once again, gorgeous as all hell, fantastic soundtrack, good cast of characters, and if you're a fan of RPGs, I think you'll enjoy this one as well. Obviously, Supergiant recently in the news, given that a little game called Hades 2 is in development. But Pyre, go back and give this game a look. I think you guys will end up enjoying it. But that'll do it for me. Again, the indie sale, a lot of games discounted, a lot of games that I'm just not all too familiar with, so, you know, my apologies. I know you guys think I need to play more games, need to expand my horizon, so to speak, but trying to keep up with all the new releases is already daunting enough. But we have a little bit of a lull here, so for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I do have the opportunity to go and play a couple of these lower key titles. So if you guys have any recommendations, look, so I'm always recommending you guys titles. You guys have a chance to recommend me some stuff, and maybe we can talk about it here in the near future. But that'll do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.